Hello everybody and welcome to Storm Reads, and today I'm going to be talking about my March wrap-up. Getting it on here a little late. I just haven't been in the mood to do a whole lot of anything. I know a lot of people are kind of like that right now. This social distancing is starting to get to me. I'm kind of a homebody, and that doesn't really bother me too much. It's just worrying about when I go out or I have to go out and get something, and things like that. It's driving me crazy, making sure that my dad has his mask on and everything because I don't want anything to happen to him. And just the whole worrying and hoping that it's going to be over and so that I can just go out whenever I want to. And so that is what's getting to me more than actually staying at home, because I'm pretty much a home person anyway. But anyway, enough about that stuff. I think I did manage to read like 19 books in the month of March, and I don't have anything in any kind of order. I'm just going to let you know what I read. I participated in March Mystery Madness and Middle Grade March, and I read a fairly good amount of both, I believe, for the month. And then I had one book that didn't have anything to do with either of those that I read. And so we'll just get into that. And I will start with the middle grade, and then I will move into the mystery. Just do it that way. And so first up, I'm going to talk about, I read 2 books in a series called Winter House. And I read the first one, Winter House, and then I also read Secrets of Winter House by Ben Gooderson. Oh, sorry about the glare there. And I really enjoyed them. They're about Elizabeth. She's an orphan, and she gets to spend time in this big old house called Winter House. And it's got some mystery and everything. It's got some really cool illustrations and things like that in it. And they were just really cool. I liked it so much that I went ahead and got the Secrets of Winter House. And I listened to both of them. I did have the library book version of Winter House, but I had to take it back, obviously. And so but I did listen to both of them, and I think they're really, really, really good on audio. I just can't think of anything. Okay, but yeah, I really liked them. They were really good, and I would give them both 4 stars. Then I read the first 2 books I'm believing it's a trilogy, because there's only 3 books that I can find, and the last one was from 2018, so I don't think there's going to be any more. So I read the first 2 books in this, and it's called the Frame series by James Ponti, and the first one is Framed, and the second one is Vanished. And I listened to these also. I did a lot of audiobook listening in March. It was just the mood that I was in. And these are about Florian and Margaret. They are 2, I think, 11 graders. And they have this thing that they do called Toast, which is the theory of all small things. And because of that, they're kind of like little Sherlocks. And they see the small things, and they can figure things out. And they do this, and they get noticed by the FBI, and then they become consultants for the FBI. And so these are just really cute little mysteries. The narrator did a really good job on this one, and the narrator on the Winter House ones was really good too. I think her name was Sophia Moss, and the one for this is Brian Holden. And they were really, really good. And I would give these 4 stars too, because I really liked it. Just fun, really cute mystery books if you have. And then I also listened to The Land of Stories by Chris Colfer. And this one is about 2 siblings who they're having a hard time because their father has passed on. And they get this book from, I believe it was their grandmother. And it was making some noise and doing some things and glowing, and they end up getting sucked into the Land of Stories book where the fairy tales are true, like there's Cinderella, Red Riding Hood, Rapunzel, and things like that. And to get back to their own place, they need to gather up some things from each one of these, like a piece of bark from Red Riding Hood's basket and things like that, so they can make this thing called the wishing spell. And it was really cute. I will be continuing on with the series. I just haven't got to it yet, but I will be. And this one was narrated by the author, and I thought she did a pretty good job. And I would give this one, I don't know, 3.5. It was good. Then I also, it was the month of reading 2 books from different series, I guess, because I read The Last Dragon by James Riley from the Revenge of Magic series, and I also read the newest one, the newest one called The Future King. And it's really hard to talk about these books without spoiling anything that might have happened in book 1, so I won't really talk too much about them. But it is about Fort, and he something happens in the first one which gets him involved in a school for magic, because only kids can use this magic from these books. And he finds out that things aren't really quite as they seem, and something is going on that he's not quite into, and him and a small group of friends that he makes there decide to try to fix things. And in the second one, there is dragons and things involved, so it was pretty cool. And in the third one, we've got this cool sword, although I do think the cover kind of is misleading, because Fort really can't have the sword, so a little misleading. But one of his friends does. Anyway, it's really good, like fantasy adventure stories for young readers. This one was probably my favorite so far out of the series. There's another one coming out, probably, I would like it to come out this year, but probably next year, called A Timeless One, I think. And so I can't wait to continue in the series. But yeah, this one was my favorite. I probably give this one 4 stars and this one 5 stars, because I really, really liked it. And so if you're into kind of fantasy adventures, middle grade, I would really check out the Revenge of Magic. Okay, so now we'll just go right on into the mystery books that I read. And so with that, I will just going to go down the line that I have here. And so, like I said, it's no big order of any kind. I listened to this cozy called A Tangle of Yarn, and it's by Betty Hickman. There we go. I'll get it here in a minute. And this is, I believe this is number 5 in the Yarn Retreat Mystery Series. And this is like a decent series, but it's not like a favorite series, but I do want to continue on with it. And so I had a chance. I seen that it was on Hoopla, so I decided to grab it. And this one is about, I'm going to get it here in a minute. It's about Casey, who owns she owns like a bakery, but she also runs a yarn retreat at the Canterbury Resort place or something. It's been too long since I've listened to these and stuff, and the stuff ain't sticking with me. Sorry about that. But anyway, I liked it. It was decent. They always have really good mysteries, and I like Casey and some of the side characters. And so I gave this one 3.5 stars. And next up is another cozy mystery series, and this is Deep Fried Revenge by Lynn Cahoon, and this is number 4, I believe, in the, is it Farm? Yeah. Farm to Fork mystery series. And this one is about Angie, who she owns a restaurant, and she, of course, buys all of her food locally, so it's the farm to fork aspect. And I cannot remember exactly what happens. I know it revolved a carnival type foodie carnival thing, and I think a celebrity chef or something, but it was decent. This isn't my favorite series by Lynn Cahoon. That one would be the Tourist Trap Mysteries, But I do like this one, and more I get into it, the more I'm starting to like it. And so I give this one 3.5 stars. Another cozy that I read was Telephone Line by Julie Mulhern. And this is the Country Club Mysteries, and I believe this is number 10. 9 or 10. I lose track after a while. And this one is about Ellison, and it's set in the 1970s, so it's got this really cool 70s vibe, which I really, really like. And Ellison, she just seems to have a knack for finding bodies. This time it was a yoga instructor, and they got locked in a room, and the yoga instructor got killed outside, so it was kind of interesting. And of course, her and her boyfriend, who is the detective, have to figure out what's going on. And it was really good. I liked it. This is one of my favorite series, and so this one gets 4 stars, and I can't wait to get to the next one, which is called Staying Alive. I also listened to Murder on the Link by Agatha Christie. This is the second book in the Hercule Poirot mystery series, and I found this one to be enjoyable. This one, if I can remember, is about Poirot has a friend who emails. That sure didn't go on back then. Writes him a letter, and he wants him to come there. And whenever him and his friend Hastings arrives, he finds out that his friend is dead, and so of course he's got to figure out what happened. And he is rivaling the detective that is in that part of the country, and that detective thinks he's going to one-up Poirot, but of course we know that is. And I read Kindness Goes Unpunished by Craig Johnson, and I buddy read this with my friend Barb. And this one was just okay. This series isn't quite as good as I was hoping it would be. I absolutely love the TV series that they had for Longmire, but this one, it's not holding up to the series. And I think me and my friend we're going to give it to maybe book 6 to see if we want to continue on with the series. But this one was just okay. And I think the reason this one was just is because it was out of Absaroka County, and we are in Philadelphia, where Katie Longmire's where Longmire's daughter is living. She's got a new boyfriend she wants him to meet, and also Henry Standing Bear has to go out there and do something to do with some kind of Indian pictures or something at a museum or whatever. And so they're both going out there, and it gives Walt a reason to go see Katie and everything. But while he's there, Katie is really, really badly injured, and she is in a coma. And so of course Walt is going to figure out what happened, and so he's kind of causing a little bit of a ruckus there in Philadelphia. He does things a lot different than they do, because he's, kind of a cowboy. So, and there were parts of it that were good and parts of it that just and I think a lot of it is just I missed the characters from Absaroka County. Thank goodness we did have Henry Standing Bear, but I missed Ruby, and we did get Vic in the middle of it and everything, but there were some things I liked, some things I didn't. So I gave this 3 stars. Another cozy mystery, and this one is Pain and Suffering by Cheryl Holan, and this is the first in the Webb's Glass series, and this one was just okay. This one had a police officer in it that I just absolutely did not like. I did not like his portrayal. I don't know if I'm sure the author wanted him to come off as being kind of brass and just, you wanted to smack him and everything. And even the detective, I mean, the detective was looking at a way to get rid of that police officer in the book, but he just took away from the story, and I did not like him, and therefore I just didn't like this very well. And this is about, I believe, Savannah, and she's come back home because her father has died, and it was his glass shop, and she's trying to get things taken care of and what she needs to do, and to see if she wants to sell it. and then somebody is murdered, and well, her kind of sort of like uncle is murdered, and then she finds out that her father was probably murdered too, and so she's got to figure out what's going on, and if it involves the fact that somebody is wanting to buy the shop and things like that. And it was okay. I gave it like 3 stars. Just like I said, I wasn't a big fan of that police officer, and it just took me out of the story, and so it just wasn't and another one that I listened to is Let the Dead Keep Their Secrets by Rosemary Simpson, and this is the 3rd book in the Gilded Age mystery series, and this is set in New York, and it surrounds Prudence, who has decided, after things that happened in book 1, she wants to open up a private detective agency, and she does so with Jeffrey, who was a friend of her dead fiance from the first book. And this one has a really sad mystery to it, because it's about a woman and her little baby who has been killed, and so they have to figure out exactly what happened. So it was kind of sad. And it was a good mystery, and I really enjoyed it, and so I gave this one 4 stars. And I really like Prudence and Jeffrey, and I hope that they're just kind of starting to admit that they kind of like each other to themselves, but not to each other. So hopefully in the next one. But yeah, I like it. Moving on. We've got Murder in the Reading Room by Ellery Adams, and this is book 5 in the Book Retreat Mystery series. Too many series to remember. And this one, it has kind of, this series has like an overreaching story arc, so it's really hard to explain what happens in this one without spoiling previous books, but it is about kind of a couple of different secret societies, and they pertain to books. And Jane is the, now, I guess she's the caretaker of this one secret society and books, secret book room and everything. And they also have retreats at their place where this secret book room is, and nobody knows it's there. But, so they do have retreats and everything like that that's there. That's why it's the Book Retreat Mysteries. But I can't really say a whole lot about what happens in this one, because I don't want to spoil, so... But it was good. 4 stars. Lost it. And then I read 10 Days Gone by Beverly Long, and this one is a new series, and I got this as an e-arc, and it's the A.L. McKittridge series, and this is about 2 detectives, McKittridge and Morgan, I think. Renee Morgan, I believe. And there are 4 ladies that have been killed 10 days apart from each other. So in the last 40 days, they've had 4 bodies, and so they are trying, really desperately trying to figure out who the killer is, and if they can't find out exactly who the killer is, who the next victim's going to be, so they can try to save that victim. And so they only have 10 days to do that in, because the killer is killing every 10 days. So, and this one was really good. I really liked it. I gave it 4 stars. It's got a lot of interaction with the and a little bit of drama from both detectives and their home lives and their not so great home lives and things like that. So kind of kept things going and everything, and I really liked it, and so I will continue with it. Then I also managed to get in A Dark Corner of the Night by Meg Gardner, and by the time I got to this one, I was starting to burn out on mysteries, and it was towards the end of March, and it seems like March just drug out forever, and I was just not in the mood. So the reason it took me so long wasn't because I didn't enjoy it. I mean, I gave it 4 stars because I know it was my mood that was dragging it down and not the book, because I really love this series. This is the 3rd one in the Unsub series, and this one is about the Midnight Man and the detective Caitlin and her team are trying to figure out what is going on and who the Midnight Man is and trying to get to him next. She works for the FBI, and I don't know, she's not a detective. She works for the FBI. She's a profiler. And they're trying to figure out what his next steps is and what's going to go. And there's some twists and turns in here that I didn't see coming and everything. And I really, really did like it. And it does have, also has a overreaching story arc through all 3 of the books. So I do recommend you start with the beginning, because there is this character called the Ghost who is wanting to get Caitlin, and so he is kind of in all of them a little bit. So you need to kind of read the beginning to understand what's going on with that. But yeah, really good. And the last mystery I have here is Cross Her Heart by Melinda Lee, and this one was really good. This one is about Bree. She's a detective, and her sister is killed, and so she goes back to figure out what happens, and it really closely mimics what happened to their own parents, and so you get flashbacks of what happened back then whenever she was like 8 years old, and the things that happened with her parents, and then her trying to figure this out. And she also does it with the help of who was the husband of her sister Erin, who is missing, and they think that he is the one that done it, but then Matt just doesn't think he's the one that done it, so he's trying to figure out what happened to clear his friend's name, and Bree is just trying to find Justin and figure out what happened. And so they end up working together, and it is very light on the romance. This is supposed to be kind of more of a romantic suspense, but to me it was more of a mystery crime, not a romantic suspense. But I think she writes those kind of things, and maybe it will turn that way more in the series, because this is a series. And I did get this one. This is an arc. I forgot to mention that. And the Dark Corners of the Night was an e-arc. But yeah, this one was really good, and I gave it 4, maybe 4.5 stars. So first time I've ever read this author, but I do want to check out some more of her books. One more. And so this is the last book that I'm going to talk about, and it's one that has nothing to do with either of the readathons that I did, so I saved it for last. This is a horror book, and it's called The Rue by Alan Baxter, and as you can tell, it is about a killer kangaroo. And that's about all you can say about it. It's really short, and it's about a rampaging killer kangaroo. There's a lot of slaughter and things, and it was interesting to find out why there was this killer kangaroo in the outbacks. And it was not quite as good as I was hoping, and I gave it 2.5 stars. It had way too much of the F word in it for my liking. I mean, I'm not a prude. I can read that and it not bother me that much, but when, seems like almost every other word in the dialogue was the F word, that was just too much of it, and it took out of the story, and it didn't make sense, and it made me wonder if it was just, he was trying to get so many words written, and so he just kept using the F word in every kind of way he could imagine, and it just wasn't all that great. But I did really like the uniqueness of the killer kangaroo. So, I mean, that part was interesting, but other than that, it wasn't really that great of a read. My buddy read that with my friend Barb also, and she was about the same as me. She didn't really quite care for it too much either. But there you go. That's everything that I read in the month of March, and this was kind of a lengthy one, and hopefully I didn't ramble too much, and you could kind of figure out what I liked and didn't like. And overall, I had a really good month, I thought. I really enjoyed a lot of what I did read, and so here's hoping that April is going to be just as good, and hopefully worldwide April is going to be just as good. It's going to be good, so fingers crossed. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and I'll see you all next time. Bye.